Hello and welcome to Ecoholics. Today we are going to learn about the teaching aptitude part 1 of NTA UGC NET examination for paper 1. So let's begin with the teaching aptitude. Teaching aptitude is a very integral part of the paper 1 for UGC NET examination. Now why is it a very integral part? Because after learning about all these skills, after learning about paper 1 and paper 2 and getting informed about all these subjects, you're going to be trained to become an educator in any of the universities or colleges and institutions. So to become a teacher, to become an educator, you require major 3 skills, and to attain those 3 skills inside the purview of teaching aptitude, you require that kind of sensibility, and this sensibility is basically tested in the paper 1. Now let us throw some light on the teaching aptitude and its components. Teaching aptitude is majorly constituted of these 3 items or these 3 components. Teacher-learner skills, which means that what is the ability of grasping of a teacher and what is the ability of grasping of a learner. So teacher-learner skills will be about the characteristics, the features, the core areas of a teacher and a learner. They are going to be the major components which will impact the teaching and learning process. The second component is the teaching support systems. Now the teaching support systems involve the administration, the peer group, the research, the qualification that the teacher has, the backgrounds from which the learner comes, and finally you have the evaluation system and techniques. While learning something that has been taught or something that has to be taught and something that has been learnt, you can find a major gap between the teaching and the learnings. Now why this gap happens is because probably of different imbalances and different factors that actually influence the teaching and learning capacities and abilities. So to find what are the gaps and to curb and curtail these gaps, we have the evaluation systems and different techniques. Basically there are different methodologies to take feedback in terms of the learning capacity. For example, there's so many different types of internals that happen, internal assignments, unit tests, then there can be weekly tests, there can be recitals, there can be writing reviews about articles. So there can be so many methodologies that can be brought in the evaluation system so as to bridge the gap between the teaching and the learning abilities. Now let's learn about the objectives of teaching. Objectives of teaching are primary, not just in a theoretical way. So what happens is that the examination is not tough, but it's tricky. It's tricky in the sense that it is going to mix the theoretical knowledge that has been asked to you in such a way that you are going to first analyze and first comprehend the material that has been put across to you, and then you are going to take the correct answer. Even while taking the correct answer, it becomes a major confusing task because every other answer becomes so relative of the other. So how to find the suitable or the best suitable answer is the key, and this key can be only drawn by understanding and properly comprehending the facts and the theory. Now getting on to the objectives of teaching, we have the first one is to provide the knowledge and skills to the learners. To provide knowledge and skills to the learners. Now why this knowledge and skill has to be provided by the teacher? It can be provided by anything, anyone. It can be provided by a book, it can be provided on the net, on your on different portals. The information can be provided anywhere in descriptive format, but an educator, a teacher will actually tell you how to cope up with the ever-changing knowledge, ever-changing skill in the fast-changing world. The idea of a teacher, the idea of an educator is basically to motivate the student and to tell the student how to cope up with the existing knowledge that the student has, how to enhance that knowledge, and how to apply that knowledge in practical application, so that it can be helpful for that student to cope up with the fast changing environment that exists in today's world. Today we have a fast changing world, and we have to grasp many concepts as a teacher and both as a learner. So there has to, you have to strike a balance between the two things also. That is why it is required for a teacher to impart this particular coping up aptitude. The second one is to mold and shape the learners. Now, the molding and the shaping will definitely happen at a very primary and the very foundational formal levels of teaching and learning, because that is the time when the learner is most agile, the learner is most absorbent and observant. So the student is going to absorb all the motivation, all the positivism from an educator and translate it into doing things in a much better way. So the former years of learning are very important, and teaching also are very important, because they will shape and mold the ideologies of the students and learners. Now the third one is to nurture students during all stages of learning. Now it is not only the former years, it is also the other later years of learning that the learner requires motivation, inspiration to keep on learning more newer things in life in general, and in learn different innovative and different skills, vocational skills, some sort of academic skills, and keep on learning newer things in life in particular. So nurturing the students is also of utmost importance. So the next one is to inculcate values and punctuality. Now, values and punctuality can be inculcated by telling the right thing, and not just telling the right thing to the student, but to make them understand, to nurture them in such a way that they understand the difference between the right and the wrong, that they can make their own decisions on the basis of punctuality, on the basis of discipline, on the basis of regularity, on the basis of certain moral and ethical standards. So this also becomes a big objective of teaching and teacher. Then, to develop the sense of solidarity, brotherhood, communal unity, teamwork, and leadership from different types of classroom activities. Now, it may be possible that in all types of classroom activities, some students are going to actively participate, some students are going to follow some instructions, some students are going to be passive. So this will happen to all types of students, all bunch of students in a classroom activity. So the educator, the major objective of the educator is to involve all students so that there is communal harmony, there is team spirit, the bond is very strong of a class. When there are competitions like this class versus class A versus class B, students of class A performing against class B in a certain quiz competition, in a certain writing competition, reciting competition, these things actually inculcate the team spirit. You are a team. So class A, all the students of class A are going to represent as a class, as unity. So anyone who stands and represents that class, all the students of that class are going to feel proud that okay, it is our student, it is our class student. So this is something that is also a very important objective of teaching, and it is not just the objective of teaching or an educator at the primary and the formal levels of teaching. It goes to all types of levels of teaching, all different levels, whether you're a teacher at school or in college or in university or in any other higher education institution. These are the basic objectives of a teacher and an educator. And finally, to prepare students to be better citizens of tomorrow, of course, every educator aspires to to make the students understand that there is a better tomorrow, and the better tomorrow will be made into the best possibility by the students of today. So this is something that is a combination of all the objectives of teaching, a very core area. Theoretically it is also a very important area, but definitely you have to remember that the questions are not going to be asked in such a way. This chronology is not going to be there in the questions. So what you need to learn is the gist. What is something that is the crux of the objectives? What is something that I am trying to tell you through the narration of different types of cases? What is that something that is the key knowledge that you have gotten from these objectives will stand tall when you are going to solve the questions of teaching aptitude for paper 1. Okay, so now moving on. Now we are going to define the different levels of teaching. Now this is again a very important theoretical as well as practical aspect. There are typically 3 levels of teaching, 3 levels of learning. These 3 levels form the core of teaching aptitude. Many a times the questions are going to be put in the form of assertion and reason, and they are going to be very intertwined in these different concepts. So let us find out what are the levels of teaching. Now there are 3 levels of teaching. The first one is the memory level. Memory level is most of the time used at the very primary former stages of teaching. So here you are going to have rote learning. Rote learning means memorization of a particular topic, a particular theory, a particular concept, a variety of concepts in such a way that you just memorize it. There's nothing of an understanding part as such. You just have to memorize it. So what are the things that you at a very formal level of learning memorize? So you'll have the names of states and their capital cities, right? Then you'll have rivers, rivers. And then what else? You'll have different types of, let's say, you'll have currency. So while learning these types of objective related or these types of information, this is a memory level teaching that happens. So you'll have different quizzes, memory tests, you'll have different types of quizzes like hangman, or you can play some sort of games while teaching these types of things in the classroom activity. Currency, match the following. Currency, match the currency with the country, match the country with the correct capital, match the state with the correct capital, match the city with the correct river. These are the memory level memory level activities, which are basically used to increase the memory, increase the activity of the brain, increase the brain activity, increase this cell activity in the brains, so that you are adapt to learning new information quickly. When you try to focus more in these types of skills, memory level teaching actually tries to impart to the learners a type of understanding of these types of information, so that they can it's not just rote learning. You're not just cramming up the things, you're actually fitting it inside your brain, at a not just at the primary level, at the much higher level. Something like laws and acts also are memory level teaching. So you'll have this law which is the act which is the year in which this particular thing happened historically. So years versus historical events versus concepts versus laws versus acts, all those things will fit into your mind through the memory level teaching, which is again a very essential part of learning. Then the second level of teaching is understanding level. Of course, now the understanding level is a bit more comprehensive. You are going to understand things. So here the meaning of the memorized content is going to be present, right? So the meaning is here. Here the meaning is very much important. The conceptual meaning of the memorized content that you have revised, that you have memorized. What is the meaning of that content? What is the meaning of a particular theory? So you'll have the understanding level will comprise of let's say different theories, basic concepts of different theories. You can have, let's say, the terms, the meanings of the terms or jargons which are used in different subjects, science, economics, commerce. Different subjects may use different terminologies, different jargons. So what is the meaning of that jargon? You may have memorized the jargon, but you do not know the meaning. So you have only learned till the memory level. You have not learned till the understanding level. So you need to require the teaching requires you to push hard to the understanding level so that you can learn till the understanding level. Okay, so you'll have in your former years, you must have learned these poems and their meanings, poems and phrases and their meanings. So in literature you would have had these four lines of a poem or 4 lines of a phrase, and you have to interpret and comprehend and write in your own words what is the conceptual meaning of it. So this is understanding level, right? So you have already read it, you have already understood the meaning of it in your classroom, but while in the examination you have to interpret the same meaning, you have to write it in your own words. So this becomes the understanding level of teaching, right? And finally you have the reflective level. This is the topmost, most thoughtful of all. This requires, so this is the, let's say, this is the most thoughtful, right? And major brainstorming happens over here, right? And you'll have basically this is something related to comprehension and gaining perspective. What is the bigger perspective? For example, if there's a general line, a general concept on the understanding level that you have learned is gravitational pull. You learn the meaning, you learn the concept, you learn the formula. In the bigger perspective, when you're gazing at the stars, when you're somewhere outside your home and you're gazing at the stars, gazing at the sky, and you think that are we rotating? Are we rotating and revolving? What is the direction that we would be in? Will we be upright, or are we standing just like hanging in there on the planet? What is this gravitational pull? How are we getting attracted to this gravitational pull? And what is the concept of tidal energy attracting us, attracting our emotions? So these are the concepts. This is how analytical thinking happens, high order thinking happens. So here in the example, you can always understand it by case studies. So in the case study, a teacher is going to give a student or the students a particular case of a particular, let's say, economic concept or marketing concept, something related to that. So they would have known the concept, they would have memorized some of the terms. So memory level and understanding level is done. Now the reflective level is how the newer questions that have been put by the teacher in the case, how these questions are going to be solved, is reflective learning. The student will have to combine the memory level and understanding level to high orderly think about the comprehension and to solving the questions of the case studies. So this is how the three levels of teaching happen.